We're back. Wes.
We are back.
Back after a couple week break. Episode 41, Road to Black podcast. Wes Reed, and my name is Paul Manganaro. Here we are. Took a little bit of a break. We both had a couple really busy weeks, so we're back on the mics right now and talking about probably the biggest topic in Jiu Jitsu is right now, as far as I see, is all of the stuff going on with the abuse and abusing power within Jiu Jitsu, you know. It's been a crazy couple weeks in our sport, so it would be remiss not to mention that. So we might as well just start off with the heaviest subject. It's pretty eye-opening, you know. Maybe not surprising, but I think it's a good thing that these things are being talked about now, and that's really just, everything, pretty much every type of abuse on the mat, you know, in terms of emotional and sexual, you know. It's kind of a touchy subject, but it's good that our community is kind of opening up to this because, man, I've been seeing some disturbing reports over the last couple of weeks. I know you've been following it.
Yeah, I've been following it. Dude, honestly, it really even sucks that we have to discuss this. Like,
yeah.
We
don't have to, but
we don't have to, but
it's good. It's good for our listeners if you're not on social media and you're not seeing these stories. You know, we'll throw out some names you can go and read the current events, and it's good to be aware. You know, it's good to be aware of what's going on in our sport, and we can all be better advocates, I would say, of each other, and, you know, helping be supportive and develop a supporting environment to train in, you know.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, you know. It goes back to all of our discussions, how all academies, they're just not created equally, you know. It's really dependent on the personality and the character of the people that are running the show, you know. So that's really important when you look for a gym or you're going to train somewhere, you know. You kind of got to, especially if you're looking for a new home or you're looking for a place to train, you got to do your due diligence and figure out who the hell is running this place and what are they all about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So talk a little bit about what you know in terms of just reviewing the major points, and really with fight sports is where this all kind of broke out. Not to get too deep into this, you know, we're a couple males also. I will put that out there that we can only see one side of this, but it doesn't mean that I'm not offended by it, you know. And it's pretty sad that people take advantage of especially younger athletes, obviously, you know, kids.
Yeah, and that's what this was I believe this girl, her parents took her to this gym. She clearly took to jiu-jitsu like a duck to water, was really good at it. Went to, I believe, another gym, and I think that was a Fight Sports affiliate. Mm-hmm. And this, I think she was 10 or 11. This jiu-jitsu black belt coach kind of brought her along until she was, I think, 16. And then, I mean, to use the correct word, it was statutory rape.
Yeah.
Between the black belt and that 16-year-old kid.
Mm-hmm.
Child is what I'm going to say. Like, I want to make sure I'm using the right terminology. That's a child and a statutory rape. Like, there's no way around that.
Right.
And the understanding that I got is she told somebody, I believe it was a peer. If you want to really follow this sports, you can follow. There's a few accounts and you can read about it on Jiu Jitsu Times when it came out. There's a really good article about it. But she told a peer. That peer told their parent, and their parent got the police involved.
Yeah.
He ended up getting arrested at his gym, and from the report that I heard or I saw, Even when he was getting arrested, he was walking out and said, "What is wrong with me?"
Right.
And what ended up happening, there was a whole bunch of stuff between that black belt has a wife and a kid as well. And so there was the fight sports, Cyborg and the fight sports basically tried to cover the whole thing up and sweep the whole thing under the rug.
Right.
And this is my own personal... They said it wasn't any sort of extortion, but what it appears to be is there was an extortion of about $35,000 where Cyborg tried to get the owner of the gym to pay to this rapist, so that he could pay for legal fees under the guise that it was going to be going to the family and the kid.
Yeah, exactly.
As if that is
his own family and kid.
The rapist's family and kid. So I think that he was having a hard time, or the report that I read, and I've been following this from all these different accounts and the Jiu Jitsu Times, and it sounds like this guy was having a hard time paying for lawyer fees and all of that, and he needed cash. And so this was a way to say, if you want to be a fight sports affiliate and you want to keep that name, then you need to give him this money. Mm-hmm. Keep in mind, this is also Cyborg's godson, the son of the rapist. That's Cyborg's godson. Yeah. And so there's that involved, like that
they were really close.
Very close. So then pictures came out that he was then over at Wagner Rocha's gym training, setting up cameras and stuff for the kids' classes, doing, training in the gym with a closed door session between Wagner, I think it was Tex Johnson, and that guy, was it Marcelo, I believe? Marcel. And anyway, things just kept snowballing. Those guys kind of played it out, they had to release several statements because their first statements were a joke of a statement. It's infuriating, right? They didn't say anything.
That part of it was just... It just shows their character, honestly.
It's unbelievable. They didn't say anything to the victim.
No. It's asinine. They went and got some standard statement, some law speak from some lawyer or some counsel, I'm sure, and it was just so not heartfelt. You have the act itself, which was more than one occurrence. Okay, so this wasn't just some random thing. He basically groomed this person and this young child, and ended up having some sort of relationship with her. It's mind-blowing how people look at these things, though, because, even people online are trying to justify... I saw people trying to justify, oh, well, she's promiscuous, or she had other boyfriends before, or in Brazil, 16 is a legal age. And it was just all this crazy talk. And it's like, the guy was 30-something years old, right? And he knew her since he was 10, It's like...
And this ain't Brazil.
Right. So... you have that, which is despicable in itself, and then you have the cover up for a year, because this happened 3 years ago. So then you had the cover up during in which, like you said, they, allegedly extorted this guy, but basically they wanted. The story is both the guy that perpetrated and Cyborg met with that affiliate owner who was. He was just an owner at the gym where the guy worked, right? Mm-hmm. And he flat out told them, I'm not, he listened to their offer. They're basically, I want money. And then, I think Cyborg actually pulled him aside again and said, hey, what do you think about what we said? Do you want to remain an affiliate? And he's like, no, I would never do that. I would never do that. I would never support this guy. And the guy was never an owner in the first place. So, the guy had literally no rights to the gym. He was just an employee there. So it was just... that right there, the fact that he wasn't an owner and they kind of try to put it off as he was, that's where it becomes like, to me, that's like extortion, because
For sure.
he literally had no right at all to any money. And now you're
Yeah.
just trying to shake this guy down for what? To put your name, which is just a shit name now, on their building. Nobody wants your name on their building now. Fight Sports. I'm sorry, but that's, I don't know. That's these guys, both Cyborg and Wagner, they have this holier than thou reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Their shit don't stink. They piss people off. They're kind of, for lack of a better term, I've heard them be called assholes, both of those guys. So, not to say they're always that way, but look at what happened here. Yeah, they're protecting this scumbag, and that shows a lot of character, right? I mean, these are people you're entrusting with really teaching from a young age, and especially a child. I mean,
kids.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, kids, the geriatrics and kids are and mentally unhealthy people are the
Most vulnerable.
very, very, very vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly. They even had there was other parents. They let this guy. They didn't really do anything about it, and other people knew. So these charges were brought. This was all brought up for a few years ago. Nothing happened, and then these people would be training, and other third parties I've read, like other third party parents and stuff, would be training, and then they see this guy come in, and they'd go to complain and say, what's going on here? Why is this guy back in the gym? I thought he had charges against him. They let this guy back. And he's like, my daughters are training here. Mm-hmm. It's absurd that you would allow that. But it just shows the level of the depth that they will go to protect one of their guys, And it's just, the whole damn thing is sad. But what that whole event created, as every event like this does in today's social media world, and everybody's ultra aware, and we're all dialed in, and you're getting clips of news every minute of the day if you want, all day long. Well, it opened kind of the can. So now other people feel free to speak about it, to share their experiences. It's empowering. And that, to me, is the positive side of this. If there is one, is that there isn't one. There can be a positive side in this, that these people can share their experiences, and they have more of an open and accepting format to do that, where they're not being. This isn't a one-time thing.
No, it's
like
not.
I even saw a female athlete. I won't mention her name, but she was I think she's a world champion black belt, like a high-level black belt competitor, big name in Jiu Jitsu. And she started defending, saying, she wrote this long thing, and it's like, she totally understood where these issues were coming from, but she was adamant that it wasn't common. She was trying to say it wasn't common. It was very rare. And so, but she just got blasted by, just the comments alone in her post. I read a dozen from females that it happened to them. Like a dozen comments just by the time I read it, of people that it actually happened to them, where people took advantage of them. Their coach took advantage of them. Their training partner, unacceptable touching in the gym. Like a lot of, and my eyes were just like, because she was just because she was at this great gym her whole career, I won't say the gym. It's one of the biggest gyms in the country. And props to them. She hasn't seen that. Great. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist and it's not common. It's obviously an issue. And you know why? Issue. You know why it's common? Because there's not that many females compared to males.
Yeah.
So it makes it even more, it's happening, okay? So, it's not just one story. Like if you've followed any of this, it's dozens of stories now at this point. And that just means there's many more that won't say anything ever.
Exactly.
So at least there's kind of a place in our community where now people can talk about it and really educate people, have some standards, and I don't know. I'm an apparel company. I sponsor people. One of the things that really kind of irked me a little bit is like There's a couple. I saw a couple. You're probably going to figure out who this is because if I tell
I
the
believe
story,
I already know.
You see like a gi company pull back their sponsorship of an athlete in London who also got recently Jackson Souza. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
He I guess he's like, it's out in the open. Like this guy's actually had charges brought against him. It's all throughout I wouldn't say Europe, but
he's
that area.
Checkmat.
Yeah, everyone knows about this guy for the last few years. Like females, I'm reading online. I've read a couple long posts of people that were involved with it, and these women are just saying, "Oh, we've known about this guy. Everyone knows not to go to that gym if you're a female, like, and you look good or whatever." And it's like, I mean, this guy has stories where he was taking women into the from the woman's mouth. He went into the shower with her after class, just went in there and like started to force her. This is from the woman. She's writing this on social media. So this is like a big, big change coming, like an eye-opening. This is a big-time name athlete. But here's my thing. Those charges were several years ago. Why was that gi company sponsoring him?
Yeah.
You know? I don't like the holier than thou. Oh, we're, based on these circumstances, we formally, we're rescinding our sponsorship. It's like, I sponsor people. If somebody, even if they're not a big name, I've heard one little thing about that, I wouldn't be supportive of them anymore.
For sure.
I wouldn't say, oh, well, it's just been swept under the rug. Let's just keep going because this guy, that shit pisses me off. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, they did what's right in the end, but don't start taking credit for being holy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Virtue signaling, and not to say they did that a lot, but you see a lot of companies and academies now are posting all this stuff, and it's like, I just see some people posting it for street cred, and it's like, come on, we should know this by, are you a decent human being? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I opted not to even post it. I mean, I don't have a huge following. I'm not like
exactly.
mega
Same here,
whatever.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But I am a healthcare professional. We're both heavy in the Jiu Jitsu community, and I opted to not say anything I didn't post anything because I felt like it was just more important for me to just listen.
Exactly.
I'm not going to sit here
what
and
are you
say,
gonna
yeah,
say?
I don't. There's nothing that I'm going to say.
That's why
that is going to change anything. I'm not going to offer my opinions because I think it's gross.
it's disturbing. It's just disturbing how prevalent it is. It's just, guys, come on.
But I just decided I was going to listen and watch how all of this goes. And I've talked to my wife about this and when all this was kind of unfolding, I was kind of telling her all about it and this and that, and she asked me, "Do you think this is in every sport or every culture?" And at first, I had to think about it, and I started thinking about U.S. Olympic gymnastics team, women's U.S. gymnastics team, Ohio State wrestling, the Penn State Joe Paterno, boys raping little boys, and it was really hard for me to say anything otherwise that this is like a power dynamic. Like there is something of like
there's definitely a power dynamic in other sports.
These are all people that we trust. We put people on these pedestals. We put our black belt instructors on these pedestals. These are people that we place our trust in, our kids' trust in. These are people that have, even in our own small communities, have a powerful position.
Yeah.
And it like reminded me of, even though, maybe your coach is not a black belt world champion, he still has a power position of these students. and they still revere him, and he's still teaching them, it makes a power dynamic. Yeah. And I was thinking how delicate and important that power dynamic is, and it was hard for me to say anything of like, this is just really I told her I'm really glad, like I feel for these victims. At the same time, like I'm glad this is all being exposed, and more conversations, like you were saying earlier, more conversations are happening about this, and hopefully more prominent and powerful people are going to come out and take positions on this. Like my 700 followers on this is, nothing, but when somebody who actually has influence
exactly
in the
they
culture of the jiu-jitsu, I mean, going back to Cyborg and stuff, it was like even his second statement was like, we've implemented a no tolerance policy and all of this. Dude, where was this at before? Like, how is this new?
Well, who's controlling that at that gym? A lot of gyms are coming up with this what have they been calling them?
This administration, this review administration,
a board,
or whatever,
a review board. You're the owner of the gym. Who's going to be the board for your gym that's already guilty?
Yeah.
Who are we going to trust over there? Someone you appoint? Like that's the problem with this after the fact, installing these things. If you're already guilty. Now, gyms that don't have that, yes, I think you should be looking at it. You should be taking a mixture of leadership within the gym, students, parents, people connected in the community within that gym, maybe even other trusted BJJ personalities in your area, to have that board. Or, you know what I mean? Because you do want someone to bounce it off of. The problem is if this happens within your gym, this is exactly what happened. Who do you go to? Are you going to go to the guy that's been allowing the perpetrator? Or the guy that maybe is misogynistic? We have a huge problem with that in jiu-jitsu, I would say. I mean, come on, let's be honest. It's a male-dominated sport of guys that are fighting, tough guys. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. Guys that have egos, and I'm not apologizing for any of that. In fact, going back to what you were saying, I had the same conversation because I started really deeply thinking, is this happening in other sports? And the power dynamic definitely does. We've seen it. You gave some great examples, the worst examples, long time abuse, just crazy stuff. It's all, and there's probably just thousands of stories sprayed throughout sports, different sports, that people don't even say anything about. Let's be honest. But here's what makes this one different, in my opinion. Jiu-jitsu is a male-dominated activity in sport. A tremendously male-dominated. Like, the numbers it's off the chart, percentage-wise, of male to female practitioners. That, and the fact that it's close contact and it's an intimate activity. See, that's where other sports still have that power dynamic and abuse going on, but jiu-jitsu has that, but also has, even like at lack of a better term, like at a micro level, you're literally close contact with someone.
Yeah.
And we take it for granted that people know how to behave, in those situations. A man and a woman rolling, let's say. But not everybody does. Not everybody has the same character. Other people have other ideas and feelings about the opposite sex. You know what I mean? So, we're talking about in these bigger terms where these coaches are abusing, but you also have just the fact that females in particular are subject. Males are too, don't get me wrong. I mean, a female can grab a male in a wrong way, but they have that going on as well.
Yeah.
A very close contact, intimate. And I'm not meaning intimate like in a lovemaking way. I'm making, me and you can be rolling. It's intimate. We're in there, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
That's what jiu-jitsu is. And you spend a lot of time with people. And I'm just speaking in very general terms, but you can imagine how a man can take advantage of a woman, especially a child, in that regard. Mm-hmm. You know, you're in an intimate, close contact, personal thing where you're learning, and it might be very engaging, and it's constant and continued. We train a lot, and this could be where, obviously, training with this person for all this time, and that's what happens with a lot of these things. It's like, here we are. We're the last two in the gym. You know, every one of these stories is like that. It's like,
yeah.
So, you know, you have that whole abuse, but you also have, which we are not qualified to speak on at all. And that's why we'll have I'd like to have at least one or two women practitioners here in the next, as some guests, maybe to talk about this. It's kind of a heavy subject, but what's it like being a female to roll with males? I mean, let's not kid ourselves. It's not the same. I've personally know women that have experienced kind of sketchy stuff. I've heard through the community, you know, I've seen it obviously nationwide now. I mean, seeing stories, it's not all just this extreme abuse by like a power dynamic. I'm seeing people that just say, this guy touched me wrong. Or I just feel creeped out when I roll with him. You know, and I could see that. I could see how that can. Let me tell you something. Some people are idiots and morons. And I've met them in jiu-jitsu too, you know. And they're just so not aware of situations. And just even how you respect a female or respect anyone. Much less a female. Or, you know, I've personally heard it myself of people just kind of look down upon a woman grappler, you know, just because they're a woman. I hate to say it, but that exists. Like, there's assholes out there, you know? And it's like, you get these guys, especially if it's in part of your culture. I'm not pointing anyone out, but some of this was discussed as, some of the defense, I should say, was part of the, I don't want to throw all, this is terrible to say about Brazilians, but that was the conversation. And there was other Brazilians obviously jumping in saying, no, that's not what we're about, you know, but was just the fact that I think I can't, I'm not even going to speak any more on that because I have no idea what it's like to train jiu-jitsu in Brazil. It's a completely different, you know, environment, atmosphere, but let's just say traditionally very few females trained in jiu-jitsu. So we have that going against all of us. You know, we're still developing this relationship where now more and more female athletes are coming along. Some females just don't feel comfortable training with men. That's why female classes exist. I mean, let's be honest. So I think even though we're speaking about it here, this doesn't reach a huge wide audience, but it does reach enough people that everyone should be aware that this is an issue. And, you know, we can all just be more supportive of those things and be more aware of the way people are treated, you know, especially if it's part of our own jiu-jitsu family, you know. So it's ongoing, you know. There's a lot going on, you know. There's a lot going on. You're gonna hear a lot, like Mo from ADCC. He's been just really coming hard on fight sports.
Oh man!
And he says there's more. He says there's like possible criminal activity and just crazy, a lot more to come. And that's just that. He's focusing a lot on that party. Like there's been some really good people doing like BJJ Avery on Instagram. She's a writer for Jiu Jitsu Times. She's done a good job of piecing all these other stories together as well. And there's several female athletes that have their own posts on social media that you can just read from their words, their own mouth, their experiences. It's eye-opening, you know. As someone that I feel like I'm pretty aware of things, it's disturbing.
It's very disturbing.
Yeah, and it's very disturbing.
When this started coming out, I mean, I'm like you. I spent a lot of time in thought about all of this, and you know, I'm a very solutions-driven person. I like how to like at least come up with something that is. I wanted to at least have some sort of what is a solution to to any of these problems, even just one. And you know, I started thinking about like kids instructors. I think they should have to get annual background tests or background checks. You know, I have a professional license. I've been background checked. I got background checked to get into school. I got background checked during school when I went on rotations. I got background checked when I applied for my first license. I got background checked when I got my Colorado license. And I mean, I get background checked all the time.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I run my own business. Everything I do is online. But I don't run a standard medical practice. You know, when I was working in the neuro clinic or even outpatient ortho, you're still seeing people you're seeing kids, you're seeing old people, you're seeing vulnerable populations.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why we have to get background checked, all medical providers are getting background checked, is because we work with vulnerable people. And at this point, I've seen enough of this, and I'm not saying background checks is going to solve all of this 100%. But man, it's a good start. Better start, and it's a better solution than not doing anything.
Yeah.
And I know that those background checks, they don't cost a ton of money. I mean, if you want to coach here, then you're going to have to get a background check.
That's definitely a good approach for people that maybe are hiring someone they don't know, or even someone they know, just having a certificate, right? But it doesn't solve the problem of this particular instance.
No.
Right?
It doesn't.
Because they didn't give a shit. They knew the guy was, they literally protect. So how do you, yes, a stand-up business, a school owner, academy owner, instructor, you got the best guy, good character. Yeah, you hire, even if you have a student that you want to promote to a coach or something, it might be a good idea just to have that. It's a peace of mind for the parents. It's showing you're doing due diligence, which you are. You want to. Maybe you don't know who Johnny is over here. He's been training with you for 4 years, but do you really know people? Let me tell you something. I found some things out about my clients that I've known for years. I'm like, oh man, I didn't know that about that person. It's like nobody just comes up and says, hey, I got a criminal record. You know what I mean? It's like, so that'd be good. But, the bigger problem is, I think you can safeguard as much as you want, definitely for the kids and stuff, but we have this problem of this, I don't know how to explain it. It's like this, it's the power dynamic, It's the power dynamic. It's these guys' character. It's idol worship. We need to stop idol worshiping assholes.
For sure.
These stories existed by these guys, I should say the one guy, but these other guys, they covered it up. Then they come out with their statements. They're full of shit and total lies, and they're contradicting themselves every which way, and they're still trying to defend themselves in the position. There's no defense, bro. You fucked up. You shouldn't have. You need to change who you think about. Do some deep thinking on who you are as a person to be able to support that, and not even consider the other side and what that young lady has experienced, or trying to justify that it was somehow her fault or she was partially to blame. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know how you do that. I don't know, because anyone can be a Jiu Jitsu academy owner. It's not like there's some board that looks over, anyone can do it. And the reality is, we just have, in society, you just have people with less character. They don't have the same standards and morals, and that's a sick part of it. So I think, if anything, and I would say, the jiu-jitsu community has to do more in not, first of all, don't idol worship people that are like this. That's a big deal, know? Stop supporting this person. You know, and the other thing is like these guys, both of them, Cyborg, Wagner, why are their instructionals being sold? They shouldn't be booked on events. Like, this is what's going to happen. If these guys come back, it just reinforces that behavior.
Yeah.
100%. You know, that's what's going on. And I'm not the only one that's saying that. That's literally what happens. You know, we all forget about it. And then it just becomes some news story in the past, just like this exact thing did. That's exactly what happened here. This happened like 3 years ago. It got swept under the rug. These guys kept on going and competing and making money and doing all this stuff and being worshipped. And look who they turned out to be, you know? So now's the time. You know, in that particular case, hopefully, to me, they shouldn't even have any memberships right now. Who would stick with that gym? Like, I would immediately leave. I mean, I saw high-level black belts from their gym. Like, I'm taking the name off my... I saw 2 different guys that had affiliates. They're like, nope, we're done with that. And that's... I praise that, because there's not going to be a behavior change unless you make these type of examples, because there's no repercussion. They're kind of... They just wash their hands of it. And, it's not me. It's this guy. You know? And then they distance themselves. But we got to stop idol worshiping. And then I would say the community as itself has to do better at finding the good communities, the good academies, but here's the problem. When you're new, you don't really know what that is. Yeah. That's probably one of the most difficult things to even understand about your new community. I had no idea. You know, I knew Gustavo was an awesome competitor and a great jiu-jitsu mind, and one of he was the guy to go learn from here. But personally, I didn't know his background, and I didn't know like what the academy vibe was or what type of environment he created. And it's hard to know that. I mean, even if you're trying to like choose a gym and you're delving into that, how would you even find that unless you knew people that really trained there? But that doesn't mean that. I guess what I'm saying is you can go and train somewhere if you feel something's off, you know, and you see something that might not be copacetic. You know what I mean? It's like there's some signs, and don't ignore those things. You know, maybe it's time to either, first of all, maybe stick up for someone that might not be able to stick up for themselves if something's serious enough. You know, stand up, and that's happened. That also, there were stories of that happening where a girl would tell of abuse, and then thankfully this other training partner was the one that actually went and said something because she was too scared to say something. You know, it's like, look out for each other, but also don't train at asshole gyms. You know, it's like some of these people, they have a reputation. Like the guy in London, he literally had a reputation of that, just living his life, just going about competing, just teaching, and you know, not even caring that everyone pretty much thinks he's a total creep. And he's forcing girls to perform acts on him and stuff, or trying to. It's despicable, man. And it's because terrible. People don't stand up is why that, you know, you get away with it. So,
and you know, we've been, you know, I don't know if Eddie Bravo started this or not, this whole thing, but he went on Rogan's podcast and was like, there's like all types of motivational jiu-jitsu videos with this quote of him sitting there on Rogan, and he says, jiu-jitsu is a filter for douchebags. And it's not fucking true.
Totally.
It's not true. It's not true. Like, nope. Jiu-jitsu is not a filter for douchebags.
Not at all.
We have just as many douchebags in our community as every other sport has in theirs. It is not a filter for bad people. You can be a terrible person.
It could be a filter for weak people, like weak-minded, or maybe they, you know, I think what he means maybe is like, maybe he's thinking very specifically like a douchebag, maybe like a tough guy jock that, you know, the prototypical guy that his ego's too big to, you know, giving Eddie the benefit of the doubt, but I
for sure
completely understand people that saying is not only him. Everyone says that. It's like, it's not a filter. You know, it doesn't filter out.
It's not a filter.
No, I've come to understand that.
It does not filter out bad people. No. However people want to qualify it. Maybe he was talking about like the egotistical bros.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Even those egotistical bros, maybe they didn't come into the gym as egotistical bros, and they got their brown belt, they got their black belt, and they found their egotistical bro.
Exactly.
You know? And
100%.
they're still a douchebag.
Yep.
And it didn't
Good
filter
point.
them out.
Good point.
So,
and for various reasons, this is just one of them. That's a whole topic upon itself. It's like there's guys that they might not be a sexual predator, but maybe they're a thief, and they're going to try to con you. I know a guy that likes to con people. He trains Jiu Jitsu. Not anybody in my gym, but I hear a lot in the community, and there's sketchy people out there. Just because we love Jiu Jitsu, and we like to think we're in a good community. We have a good set of friends, and very supportive people around us. You and me, I personally.
Yep.
Good gym. It's not like that everywhere. A guy could be training Jiu Jitsu at some maybe a gym that doesn't have a lot of good leadership. And you know what I mean? It's just run by a coach and like no offense, but like a UFC gym or something. Like, maybe not even a true academy. And that's a jiu-jitsu practitioner. No one's screened him. No one knows really what this guy's about, he or she. And, this person can develop jiu-jitsu and become just a practitioner just like us, and they can literally be a murderer.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know, So people are deceiving, and I think the most disturbing thing here is just that's a whole nother, the filter for douchebags, honestly, that's an episode. I mean, we could call this episode that, but the disturbing part of this is just, first of all, the child thing is out of, that's number one, but just females in general, the amount of females that have come out and just talked about how creepy it is, it makes me feel bad. It's like, I think there needs to be some education on how to maybe I'm overstepping, but how to roll with a female, like for some people. I don't know. I hope that's not offensive to females, but do you have to tell people not to inappropriately touch people? It's so stupid. It's like, I think you do for some people. Would you agree? Like that?
I don't know.
I'm seeing a lot of that, and maybe it's just because so many people are saying it now because of the time. But I've never experienced. Obviously, I'm a man, but I've never heard any of my female training partners or friends say anything to me. But I have heard about it in the community here in the state. So I know it exists. I personally know a female that has been offended before, but not at my gym. But it's all subjective too, One person can think this person did something, and the other was like, "Oh, that was just innocent." So it's kind of a nuanced thing, but just the overwhelming response that I love it. I mean, it's good that they're talking, but I don't know, man. It's like, it's not a good look for a female that's coming into the sport,
It's terrible.
I had a friend, I posted just an article about some of this, and my friend he said it plainly. He's like, here I am trying to get my daughters into this sport. And I'm reading all this, and it's just like, I didn't have anything to say. It's just disappointing, It's a black eye for all of us.
For probably the back end of summer, probably the last like 6 weeks, every now and again, some of the guys that I train with, one of them is 9, and I think maybe the other one is 11 or 13 or somewhere around there. They both brought their kids over here to train with us.
Yeah.
And that, we're training. I didn't think anything of it. I think that if I'm going to say anything, I think that training with kids that age is like the most purest jiu-jitsu you can find. Like, they're literally just trying to have fun.
Yeah.
Like, they're trying to work some techniques, but they're trying to climb all over you and get the back, and like they're literally just trying to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And like, the first times I was training with them, it was like, man, this is really cool. Like, they're not trying to win the round. They're not like, they're looking for stuff, but it's happy, and it's like giggles, and like,
they're kids.
They're kids.
Yeah.
They're kids. It's like the most purest form of everything. It's like the most purest form of jiu-jitsu. It's like the most innocent time of their lives that they're ever going to
Yeah,
to
exactly.
be. It's
They don't
like
have they don't have external baggage.
They don't have external baggage. Like, life is not complicated for them quite yet. Like, it's just the purest, most awesome form of jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
And this comes out, and in my head I was like thinking about this, like how much not only do I appreciate my training partners and for trusting me to train with their kids. I mean, that's a huge trust. They're in the same room. Like, it's not, we're in my home gym here. It's not like, but I started like thinking about, like, my God, like this 9 and 11-year-old, that's the same age that they started getting groomed going through to these next 5 years of jiu-jitsu development. And it just, like, I mean, it made me feel sick to my stomach, dude.
Yeah.
Like it like literally made me ill inside to even think about that.
It happens in front of their parents. How about that? You're not even you're not a parent.
And I'm not even a parent.
It happens in front of their parents. Their parents imagine how you feel if you're the parent of these girls. And they literally don't even see it. And I can fully appreciate that. Some people might say, "Oh, well, they should have." You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. They're not watching every part of the training. And some of these cases, these girls were left unattended to go to tournaments with these people, and you want to trust these people, and that definitely exists. I mean, I am a parent, and I've also been a youth coach, and I'm very in a couple different sports throughout my time, and I'm aware of all, like, you got to be very aware. I mean, even though I'm a parent, these are other people's children. I got to understand how there's certain things you shouldn't say to them, how you're acting, but there could have been something where we went on an event and I would have been trusted with children, That's a big trust. So, and parents tend to put their trust into someone that's a coach. This guy's an authority, going back to that
power.
Yeah, and maybe, there's parents who are like, what are this person's credentials, But then there's other parents who are just like, think about youth sports. Most of the coaches are just parents and stuff, It could be anybody coaching your kid, Now, when I coached, I had to do a background check, and they take they do all that. Thankfully, like when I was coaching baseball for my son, but that's the reality. Is like, that's disturbed. That's got to be so hard to know that your kid went through this and you didn't know. It's like, oh my God, just that's so sick and really sneaky. For the guy, obviously. And not only despicable, but to imagine the sneakiness that you have to be able to do that. Years and years of that, and then go through with the act. And this, by the way, we're speaking of the Marcel, the fight sports connection. That's kind of what I'm speaking on. But a few months back, maybe 5 or 6 months ago, another post was going through social media community. And it was a young lady. I think she's probably 18 or 19 now, but it was when she was a younger 15 or 16. Another same thing. I think this one was in California or something, I want to say. She just posted on Instagram. Like, very many little people even knew. And part of her recovering was just to put her story out there. And it opened a lot of people's eyes, and this is even a few months ago. So now she's actually one of the ones that are more starting to try to share her story again this week, but she's one of the ones. Same thing, but that was my point. Is same exact thing. Guy was taking her, more and more. It became just one-on-one activities, taking her here, coaching her. I mean, being in the people's eyes, a great coach, supportive. She falls in love with the sport, and it just somewhere crossed the line, and it's like parents didn't even know. It's so crazy. So I mean, it's like. I mean, obviously, maybe it's not happening everywhere, but it's happening enough that this is something that's a movement now or going on.
It's a problem.
It's a problem that many people are facing. So I think in the future it'd be nice to maybe get a female perspective on this. I mean, in terms of at least how it is to be a female grappler, you know, because they have their own challenges. I'm not one to say who that is, what those are, but we can all agree, male or female, that the whole situation of taking advantage of a minor in that way is. I don't need to be a female to say that that's completely despicable. You know, obviously, none of us do. But I think there's some other things that maybe female perspectives. That's what I've been trying to look for over the last couple of weeks. Is I don't want to see the guy. I don't care what the guys are saying. You know, the men trying to defend it, or you know, there's always going to be the guy that's defending the male. You know, I got to defend the male race here. You know, well, where's the proof? Or what about how? You know how many times I've read. Where's the other side of the story? What do you mean? Like, this is already, there was charges, like the guy admitted it basically. What do you mean the other side of the story? We know what happened. It's like, but people just want to do that because they're haters, you know? So I've been tending just to listen to the female voice. And that can be the people that are actually been abused, but also the supportive ones too, you know, because there's a lot of those females, thankfully, standing up. Another athlete today, and this is kind of maybe not in the same realm, but another high-level female athlete, world champion, multiple world champion. She said, I think it was yesterday, she was kind of saying she doesn't approve of like the sexiness related to like jiu-jitsu posts and stuff for females. And I thought that was like, I hadn't seen anybody say that, and I think it was kind of bold, but it's probably appropriate for the conversations that are being had right now. Not to say that girl, no one should ever been taken advantage of. I think it's different, but what she was trying to say is like, it doesn't help. And I hope I don't offend anybody. Like, I'm not against somebody that wants to do this, but it doesn't help. Like, if you're a female and you are wearing a gi and you don't have any clothes on underneath or something. Maybe it's a fun picture for you, but it's like sexualizing jiu-jitsu, you know? So I thought that was kind of, I haven't heard people talk about that before, but I do understand what she's saying, obviously. I mean, it's like, look at what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look what's going on here. We need to have some boundaries here. We need to make this, what's happening? Why are females being accosted so much on the mats? I mean, it's happening on the mats.
Yeah.
And that's disturbing. You know, this isn't all just going outside the gym. This is the relationships and the contact and the starts of it and the offenses, even if you're not subject to the abuse, maybe it's just inappropriate touching or something, but it's like that type of thing doesn't help, you know, to put that out. And, you know, there's been a couple, but there's a couple girls that I think she was referring to. I don't know I've never really seen a post like that, but I could see, you see like Sports Illustrated and the girls are half naked and they're wearing if it's a soccer player, she's holding a soccer ball.
Right.
You can imagine the same thing in jiu-jitsu or whatever. Or like Ronda Rousey, she did Sports Illustrated and she's got like fight gear on. So that was just this woman's opinion, but she's a very highly respected and regarded jiu-jitsu player, world champion, and I think those type of conversations probably need to happen whether you agree with that or not. If you're a female, maybe some females are like, no, this is my body, I should do what I should be, I should be able to do what I want without being accosted, without being looked at in that way. So the one thing's for sure is I haven't seen any of this talk at this magnitude as I have in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely, and especially with the times now, as you know, we're all more woke than we've ever been. So some people are way too woke, but we're all much more aware of what's going on. And the platforms that we look at every day, we get our information from, it's kind of spreading rampant through there. So if you want to follow some of this, it's BJJ Avery, Averi, is a good follow.
Mo is, I think, Motar2K.
Motar2K. He has his own account just specifically focusing on this issue. So if you don't know, Mo is the head organizer and promoter of ADCC / owner or whatever. He's the man of that. So he's a big name in jiu-jitsu, and I really commend him for doing this because he's the biggest name. That guy, when there's money involved in jiu-jitsu, like this is a money-driven, you know what I mean, sport. Yeah. These guys want, like that is the pinnacle of the sport. And what better person to really start looking into this than the pinnacle from the top? Because we don't have a top governing body of the sport. IBJJF is its own organization, and there's no one president of jiu-jitsu, Maybe if Helio comes down and starts talking some shit, that's one thing, but we don't have that. So someone in these upper organizations has to be the voice of reason and hold people accountable.
That's right.
These guys should not be profiting off their names in that regard. Like, I'm sorry, that's maybe they can go through some form of, and a lot of people will say that they don't deserve redemption or any of that, but it's like, you don't get it right now. Like, you lied the whole time. You're lying now, and only recently, or I don't even know if they've ever said anything about the victim. So, in a supportive way, they said that the victim and the father said that they haven't even they contacted him maybe one time in the last 3 years. So, what does that tell you?
Yeah,
talk about relationship. It's like we're both business owners, and that's how we operate our business is to develop relationships. You and I both. That's literally what we do. That's our philosophy, is to develop long-term relationship building.
Yep.
Can you imagine? This is one of your students, and this is the way you treat them. You support the abuser. It's mind-boggling, dude. It's crazy. It just shows the guy's character. They're shit to me. So, I mean, I don't know those guys, but I don't idol worship like that. I just think I think it's a joke. I think it's everyone in the community should just look down upon these guys. A couple of dicks that are a couple of assholes that are just trying to support their friend who's the perpetrator, just in the worst way.
In the absolute worst way. Yeah, I don't. Crazy. I want a jiu-jitsu. This is the idealistic jiu-jitsu where male, female, whatever your political beliefs are, whatever your pronoun is, if that's your thing, whatever your LGBTQ, whatever. If you want to show up and train jiu-jitsu, I don't care what you do. Come to the mats with a good attitude, learn some jiu-jitsu, have fun, have a safe area for everybody to train, and everybody leaves and goes home. I just want a welcoming community where everybody can, regardless of who you are, but at the same time, you can't allow this shit to happen. Like, there has to be...
It's just so hard. You have to do it by the repercussion. There has to be some responsibility held, and not just by that guy, but by the people that supported him. Because there's no other way to do it. There's no other way besides criminally prosecution, obviously. But within the community, we have to just hold people accountable. You have to do your due diligence. I don't know what else to do other than the voices need to be heard more. I think we need to change the culture.
That's exactly what it is.
And that's the hardest part. But I shouldn't say it's the hardest part, but it's going to take a long time.
It's a long game. It is the hardest part.
It's a long game. It's going to be the hardest part, but we have to change the culture by rejecting those people, those instances, and really promoting more education on, I think it starts with just the community and respecting your training partners. And that goes for the partner, but the coach too, Yeah. And I don't know who can hold the academy owner and the coaches accountable, but the people that pay their bills. That's the only, you got to do better due diligence on who your coach is. You know, if you even smell something that's fishy, you know, it's like you better look into it. If you even hear that this guy said this to this person or made this inappropriate, you know, maybe you heard this guy talking under his breath about some woman and this is what he would do or something. Like something like that, you know? Like shady shit, you know? Like you can't, and you know what I'm talking about. You're a man. You know there's people that talk this way, okay?
100%.
You can't just, you either got to say something. I think not everybody's going to say something. And this doesn't have to be with jiu-jitsu. You know? This could be your guy, your friend that is a little racist or something, or tells a joke that's a little off color, or you know what I mean? It's like you can accept it and you can encourage it or you can reject it, and you don't stand for that. Yeah. And I'm just using the couple simple issues. I mean, you can take every major social issue that we've had and put those kind of things around it. You know, we're all not created from the same cloth. You know, it's like you gotta we all have to have more personal responsibility and support. And I don't know. I think the only way you're going to weed these guys out is to talk about it more. And maybe that dissuades these actions. Maybe the talk and the education and people understanding. Maybe these dipshits don't even know that that's... Now, don't get me wrong. He's got to know that obviously you're not supposed to rape a child or groom a child, right?
Yeah.
My point is even the child thing set aside, maybe it's a young 19-year-old. Does that make it okay? You know? Or an 18-year-old, though she's a legal age. Does that make it okay to groom somebody and take advantage of them as a coach? No. So, you know, it's like there's got to be more education and more awareness and more talk. I don't know what else to do. I mean, isn't that how these things work, is that people have to speak up? I mean, we have to bring this to the forefront. Yeah. There's a good graphic here. I saved it. There's a girl here, a woman. Her Instagram hashtag is meg.he. She's been all over these posts. I think she's just, I don't know who she is. I think she's a blue belt competitor, and she just is, either she's a writer or she's very involved in like, I wouldn't say she's like totally, let's just say she's in the woke culture, you know? She's one of these people that are going to, and I'm not saying that in a negative, I'm just saying she's going to bring these issues to light. Like she's taken this upon herself. I don't know if she has a personal story with this, but she's like, I'm going to promote these stories. I'm going to show people that this is an issue. Doesn't mean she has to be a black belt or a world champion. She's just a blue belt competitor. Anyway, she's got great stuff, and she's covering a lot. But she has this, she had this graphic on her Instagram, and you know, obviously, it's actually a really cool graph and a graphic, so it looks really professional. But I don't know where the data comes from, but it looks like it was maybe a poll of 136 people that were sexually harassed, okay? So, sexual harassment by rank in BJJ.
I think I've read this study.
Yeah, so on one side, you have the rank of the harasser in percentage points. Okay. On the other side, you have the rank of the target. So here's the rank. I
totally read this.
Here's the rank of the harasser. 22% of the harasser was a white belt, 24 blue belt, 14 purple, 11 brown, and 21 black. So you have a pretty solid average mix there, from 11% to 24%. On the other side, the target, 70% are white belts. So that pretty much tells you that's a power dynamic. You know, 23% were blue belts. So now we're looking at what? 93% are blue and white belts. New students. 4% purple were abused, 1% brown, and 1% black, which also lends itself to the power dynamic. Because a brown belt and a black belt have been around, they probably aren't going to take as much shit, or they know not to take shit. They know what's appropriate and not. Yep. And that's sad, you know, and that does point to the fact that it's almost like it's disturbing, you know. It's like I don't know. It's almost like a grooming environment in that regard, because it's like, oh, here's these white belts. They don't know what this culture is. They don't know what's going on. And who more to be more enamored with everything than a white belt? Here's this world champion. He's going to teach me, you know? And then next thing you know, it's crazy. And this is harassment. So this is just harassment. So I don't know how they categorize that, but that could have been maybe somebody said something inappropriate, or you know, commented on a woman's looks or body or whatever. It could be that. I don't know. It doesn't say on this clip what the study was from, but these are, and it doesn't even say if they're female or male. I'm assuming.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
I think I've got a link for it. I think
I just saw a couple clips she posted, but it was, it's you know, there's 123 right there. So, you know, this happens a lot. You know, that's a small study. So I don't know if there's much more to say about that other than we'll just keep following the story. And I would like to have some other perspectives on this, you know. We're setting up a couple more guests coming up here quick. Maybe get an academy owner's perspective, you know.
Yeah.
Couple females. I don't know. It's a topic that it's not going to go away. I hope it doesn't go away. I hope these people keep it going and keep it in the forefront, because, you know, it is a male dominated sport, but it shouldn't be. I mean, it doesn't need to be because of that, you know. It's we can't let it be because of that, because female practitioners are just as valuable to all of us and just as good. And it's sad that is a reason why they don't train. And it is. Yeah. That's pretty much all you can say about this, you know. Other sports might face this type of thing, but there's literally, imagine going, you know, other female sports, maybe a coach is abusing, or a doctor, or, you know, like we've talked about. But most of the times it's a female team sport. You don't have a lot of mixed sports. Yeah. Imagine being a female and you're going to a room full of males. That in itself is got to be a challenge. Terrifying. Yeah. So it's the whole thing is it's scary, but at least someone finally brought this to light. I don't even remember what the first post was about this, but thank God someone did, because this has been going on. This happened 3 years ago. So we've been just going along, and here we are, you know. I don't know, man. It's disappointing, but I'm definitely not going to ignore the issue because we don't want to talk about it, you know. Even if we can make one impact to one listener, that's enough for me, you know. Just be aware of what's going on in our sport. We all need to work together to make it the great sport that we think it is. That's on all of us, you know. You can't rely on the big name black belt to do it, because look what happens. You have assholes everywhere, you know. Yep. Connect yourself to good people in the community and hold people accountable, you know. And it's like, educate people. That's all I can say as a male, you know. I mean, I think a female would have a different perspective on expectations, and I know they do because I've talked to females about this a little bit. But I'd like to actually get somebody on here to share that with other people. Yeah, so we'll make that a priority. For sure.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah.
You got a new gi dropping. Tell us about it.
Yep. So we got today, when this is published, Wednesday, the 25th, you'd be able to go to royalunion.com and order the latest limited edition gi. It's a royal blue. It's a royal blue gi. I'm really stoked with this one. I can honestly say it's our finest piece yet. It's got all the quality. I've made a couple slight changes, nothing to the fit, only to some of the finer details that you wouldn't even notice, but it just made it an even better gi. Mark my words, I'll just tell you guys listeners, if you're either on our newsletter or if you're a listener to the Road to Black podcast, use the code TWISTER20. The gi is called the Twister. Twister20. You can save $20 off on Wednesday when you pre-order. The pre-order open window will be open for several days, but for a limited quantity and limited time. So make sure if you want one, jump on it. Either when probably the next 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Check it out. Use Twister20. Save $20 off this gi. It helps that I get some pre-order orders out. It helps me, so I'm willing to give people a discount because we're still a relatively new brand, and we just want people. Everyone that's worn the gis loves them. That's the one thing that I can hang my hat on. It's like
I trained in mine today.
Yeah, once people get them, they love them, and they're like, "How come this isn't more popular?" I'm like, "Well, we're building a brand over here, so it takes a little bit of time, but just because we're the smaller guy on the block, I firmly stand behind these. I'll say it right here: it's 100% satisfaction guaranteed. If you don't like these, I'll give you your money back. How about that? I mean, that's how confident I am in these gis. I train in them every day. I would never make something that I don't think styles hard. So I think these style pretty hard. I like to have clean cut styling gis on the mat. I think looking good is a good way to train, and that's just my style, and it always was even before I had my own company. But these things are looking hot. I have I'm hoping this one goes off pretty hard. I have a lot of people asking about it already. When is this thing coming out? It's royal blue, so maybe whether you like a blue gi or not, maybe you need to have one in your arsenal. This will be a good one. It pops. It's really nice. The fit are already amazing. People really love the fit, and that's pretty much it. We'll see where it goes. By the time this comes out on Wednesday, sometime Wednesday, it'll be dropping on rollunion.com. You'll be able to see all the images of it. It's a pre-order, so as I said, take advantage of the code Twister20. Order it. It's a pre-order. It's going to be shipped to you probably 5 to 6 weeks. So you're looking at maybe mid-October for this gi. But it gives you, lock one down. If you got the cash to do it, you save some money. You get a new gi in mid-October. Boom, you get a surprise gi. Probably one of the last ones we make in 2021 as far as a limited edition. So I got some other items coming out. Some no-gi gear this fall and some pretty sick baseball caps and some other stuff. So we're excited about it, working hard on design and just trying to get some stuff out there. We got people wanting to buy stuff, and which is a good problem to have. Just got to get some more stuff in the store and check it out. We got plenty of stuff in there now, but yeah, that's what we're doing. It's going to be fun. I can't wait. I haven't worn one yet. I have my own Twister gi, but I'm waiting.
Gotcha.
Waiting to drop that.
Waiting to drop it. We'll drop that coupon code one more time.
Twister20.
Twister20 for everybody. Go get it.
Twister20. All right, buddy.
All right, dude.
We will catch everyone next week.
Yes, sir.